Hey, it's Nate, and I am here talking with you today in this quick, shorty episode about one of our favorite topics, sleep. And this information is coming from a recent article that was in the Wall Street Journal. I wanted to draw your attention to it. This is back on November 8th, 2023. So just last week, if you're listening to this at the time of its initial release. And the title of this article was The Sleep Habit That's More Important Than Getting 8 hours. Can you guess what it is? The sleep habit that's more important than getting 8 hours. And this is more important in terms of length of life as researchers analyzed different aspects of sleep. And they found that there was something more important in living a long life than the amount of sleep that individuals were getting. And that might just blow your mind because sleep itself, it seems like generally, the more we get, the better off we are, the better our brain works, the better our body works. And that's something that I definitely believe. But there's something more important, and that's what's so interesting about this. Here's what it is: sleep regularity. Sleep regularity is more important than the amount of time that we get. So, what is that? That is going to bed and waking up at the same time each day. It matters even more than the duration of our sleep when it comes to the apparent impact of sleep on how long we are able to live. In a study that's cited in the article, people who slept just 6 hours a night regularly had a 20 to 48% lower risk of premature death compared to those who slept 8 hours per night, but were irregular about when they went to bed and when they got up. And that is kind of mind blowing, isn't it? Isn't that very interesting? You could actually get less sleep, but if you're regular about it when you go to sleep and when you get up, it might have a bigger impact on the length of your life. But here's the thing, here's the big takeaway, I think, for us, for you and me, because we're interested in improving our health. Now, a lot of people will read an article like this and they would say, like, well, there you go. See, I don't need 8 hours of sleep. All I need to do is go to bed at the same time and get up at the same time, and I am better off than I would be getting 8 hours of sleep. That's not necessarily what this study reveals. What the study reveals is that sleep regularity definitely plays a role. You know the way research works, right? We're trying to isolate different elements and look at their impact. But here's the thing about life: we don't have to isolate elements. We can have the best of both worlds. We can benefit from sleep duration and sleep regularity. And that's one of the big takeaways I got from reading the article. One of my favorite authors on the topic of sleep, Matt Walker, is quoted. He's the director of the Sleep Center for Human, or the Center for Human Sleep Science at UC Berkeley. He said this: not just how much sleep you get, but the regularity with which you sleep has now come onto the map and exploded as perhaps the more important thing. Now, again, what's the takeaway? The takeaway is have both. It's almost similar to nutrition, right? We talk about quality and we talk about quantity. Well, it's the same with sleep. And what is being found here is that the regularity of going to bed and waking up at consistent times impacts the quality of sleep. So much so that it's an important aspect to take a look at. And again, this isn't new. We've known this. We've talked about it before on the show. We have written articles about it, Begin Within. We talk to our clients about it in our um, online coaching program. Sleep regularity is definitely important, but so is sleep duration. We want to make sure that we're getting the best of both worlds. Now, as long as we're talking about it, what about duration? Well, 7 to 9 hours nightly, if possible. 7 to 9 hours nightly, if possible. And if for some reason the schedule isn't allowing that to happen, maybe making sure that we're sticking to the schedule as closely as possible, whether that be on the time we go to sleep or the time we get up, might have an impact on how we're feeling and on our health. So it's not just how much, it's the time we're going to bed and the time we're waking up being consistent that has an impact on our health. So, what can we do? What are some takeaways? We want to just focus after listening to this, and for me, after reading the article, I want to focus a little bit on our sleep regularity, the time we're going to bed and the time that we're waking up. So, what can we do? What might be a small step that you can take that will help you? And here's one that I've used, one that I have worked with clients on developing. When it comes to this aspect of improving sleep regularity, we're used to having an alarm, right? We're used to having an alarm to wake us up in the morning at the same time. And if you're like me, that alarm goes off at the same time every single day, much to the dismay of my wife, because on the weekends, she doesn't want to go off that early because she tells me there's no reason for me to wake up that early. But I would like to wake up at the same time. Now, whether I get up on those days, right? That's the real question. But I want to at least wake up at the same time every day and then have the opportunity to decide, what do I do from there, right? We're used to having that alarm. But what if we started using an alarm or some other system in order to get us to be aware of going to bed at the same time every single night? Maybe you could do this. Think about your routine that you need to do before you go to bed. We all have things that we like to do before we go to bed, right? Whether it be, brushing your teeth, reading, washing your face, washing your hair, I don't know, whatever it is. But just think about how much time it takes for you to do those things. The stuff that you have to do to transition from whatever you're doing, living your life, into being in bed, right? And then figure out what time you want to go to bed and subtract back. Let's say I want to go to bed at 9 p.m., right? And let's say that it takes me 15 minutes to do all this stuff. I know for you maybe it takes longer. Maybe you're thinking 15 minutes, Nate. That's ridiculous. That's a lot of time. Let's just say it takes me 15 minutes. I want to brush my teeth. I'm going to floss. I'm going to wash my face and whatever, right? Put on my pajamas. 15 minutes. So let's say that I set an alarm, right? I want to be in bed at 9. I set my alarm for 8:45 p.m. every night to go off. And that's my reminder to make that transition. It might be just something that increases some awareness. Maybe you find that something like that doesn't even work for you, but it will increase some awareness for you and give you the option of deciding what to do in harmony with your values, right? So let's pay close attention again to the point of the article. We can have the best of both worlds by focusing on our sleep duration, which maybe you're already looking at. How many hours of sleep am I getting total? But then also the regularity. The article here is pointing out, the research is indicating that is very important for us, very important for our body and for our brain to get a consistent sleep schedule of going to sleep and waking up at the same time. So let's start taking some steps to move in that direction. I'm curious to know what you're going to try in order to nail down that sleep schedule a little bit more concretely, definitively, so that it can be consistent and so that you can reap the benefits. If you wouldn't mind jumping on social media and just send me a message. I'm at Nate Slager. Send me a message and let me know what you're trying and how it's working. I'd love to know. I'd love to get the conversation going because sleep is such an important pillar of our health. There are more resources in the show notes for you, including the link to enroll in that coaching program that I mentioned earlier in this conversation. And of course, I would love for you to share this episode with a friend. Please rate and review the show if you haven't done so, and I will talk with you next time here on the Begin Within Health Show.